he talks about design for the market
Mm.
and the relevance of design, and understand your market. Don't just design a random product. If we build it, they will come. And that is effectively what you're doing. What you're saying is, look, we're trying to communicate with a specific person. We're trying to put the right attributes of this product in front of them. We're not trying to flim-flam anybody. You can't get away with that in consumer goods. You might with politicians, but not with consumer goods, because you need that repeat purchase. But we're trying to be relevant to you, to your needs. We're trying to communicate whether or not this is the best product for you. If you've got a lot of subjective stuff, the worst thing that marketers can do, I've seen, to my mind, is assume that they're the consumer, or the consumer thinks like they do, or the shopper thinks like they do. I've worked on feminine hygiene, I've worked on dog food, and I'm not consumer or shopper for either of those things. So my opinion really
counts for nothing.
Well, in most things, Terry, but actually,
I had a similar conversation just last week about the importance of, as you say, talking to the people who are actually going to use the product, rather than just assuming that you know what they need, because usually you're not right.
Now the trick is to help them understand what it is. So the way that you phrase the questions, ask the questions, is important. Going back to focus groups, to get the true answer out of what's important to people. But I always give the example that the same product can have different relevance to different people.
Yeah.
And I use fabric conditioner, right? Exciting world of fabric conditioner, which it is actually. For the retail consumer, it's about freshness, softness, care. It's very about the senses. It's but that same product, if you're selling that to a hotel, care home, restaurant, hairdresser, yes, it's about those things, the experience that the customer has, but it's also about things like fabric life, some quite hard commercial. So the same product, different relevance, and that's what we're talking about. If you look at the way that the similar products by the same manufacturer, but different brands with maybe different formulations are designed and communicate, it tells you they're aimed at different types of people. And therefore, if you're assuming that your end user and your shopper, and they're not always the same person, thinks like you're making a massive mistake, because they don't. Yeah. We don't all think alike. Yeah. Different things are important at different times to different people in different circumstances. And even, a pen. Well, are you buying a pen just to quickly write down somebody's address? You're buying it as a gift for your brother or whatever, So mission's important, motivation's important, circumstances important, all of these things. And the other thing that we saw coming up was the myth of accountability. Numbers. I've been an accountant, and I mentioned it, accountant, taxman, etc. And numbers are great. What gets measured gets done, absolutely. But now we've got all of this data, all these numbers, right? Big data. And it's helpful. It's helpful, but, and here's the thing. Numbers on their own don't tell you the why, don't tell you what's going on. I've always said as an accountant, I always used to say, okay, the numbers show me there's something there not right. What I then need to do is drill down, that's the why. Yeah. Talk to people, look, what's the why? Why is that happening? Yeah. So we've got all this big data, but nobody's asking why. People are assuming, if it's like the old, it's a dreadful joke, childish joke, but it's the one about, the horrible child who pulls the legs off a spider and then puts a spider on the desk and says, move. And the spider doesn't move. And the child assumes that when you pull the legs of a spider, it goes deaf. And it's awful. Horrible childhood I had. 1970s. You can't make those assumptions. And yet I've seen it. I was talking to Mike Nicholson at Durham. And he'd done an exercise for a major retailer where they were about to get rid of the catalogue. And Mike then spent 2 years walking around, department store changing rooms, trying to work out what was really happening. And yes, all the orders were being made online, but actually the catalogue and orders were being made in the catalogue. But the catalogue was a key step. because what people were doing was using the catalogue to choose and decide, and then they were going online to order because that was quicker. But they passed the catalogue between friends, and coffee time, they'd sit and have a look together. So there was a key, but one could have assumed that, well, all the orders coming online, that's defunct, and you could have made a big mistake. And
I think that's the thing, is I think it's making those assumptions that you could be missing something huge. Couldn't you?
So what we then did based on that is we started to work closely. So we worked with Durham University, particularly on the marketing department, of collaboration with the computer department. We'd worked with Northumbria. We'd done a little bit of work with Teesside. I wish we'd done work with Sunderland as well, just to complete the set. But then we started to work with the psychology department at Bangor University, and started to look deeper into behavioural science, consumer psychology, and that's brought another level to what we do. And it's changed. We're still a creative organisation, but that upstream thing, we now do original research. Original research feeds into insights. It feeds into our ability to take insights into strategy, and then take strategy into actionable communication. And that's where the design comes in.
Yeah, and have the confidence that it's going to have the effect that
Absolutely.
you want it to have.
Absolutely. And that's really, rather than this trial and error, 90% of product launches fail. Rather than this trial and error, a little bit more upstream work, and just think, hang on, well, let's just look to see how we need to be designers, why we need to cut the subjectivity out. It's hard because people have to restrain their opinions, and everybody likes to have an opinion. For some reason, everybody likes to have an opinion on design.
It's strange,
but it is. But and they, well, I don't like green, so your customer might love green. The blue or the green might mean something to your actual shopper. It might have a relevance. So it might, they might like the color, or it might mean freshness, or it might mean clean, or it might mean professional. It'll have a color. Colors have meanings to us. We may not think so, and colors prompt action. Again, you've got to be a little bit older for this, but the example I always give to people is Walker's crisps. Can you remember?
You're not going to talk about the salt and vinegar.
I am.
Cheese and onion.
I'm going there, Terry.
Debacle.
I'm going there.
Brace yourselves, people. This could get scary.
But when they changed the colours round to fall in line with the European Lay's business,
and was that the reason? It wasn't some kind of.
That's my understanding,
right?
But I could be wrong. I
think there were darker forces.
To quote, as I often do, to quote Brian Clough, I wasn't on that.
Eminently quotable, Brian.
I wasn't on that job. Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, I wasn't on that job, but I wasn't on that job. So they changed the colours around almost overnight, and people were picking up salt and vinegar. I think it was cheese and onion, and oh my!
So just for the younger viewers, the way it used to be was cheese and onion was green.
Yes,
obviously,
and
salt and vinegar was blue. I mean, that's just that's just the way
stands
it was.
To reason, doesn't it?
And then overnight
they changed it.
It reversed, and just chaos.
And what people don't do is they don't, when they're going to buy a bag of crisps, tin of beans, whatever, they don't go and pick up the pack. If people did that, if people behaved in that economically rational way of reading all this stuff, you'd never get out the supermarket. Well, you wouldn't. Yeah. You go into a supermarket, and at one point in time, you've got 300 products in your eye line. You've got something like, and it used to be, it's probably more, 40,000 products in a supermarket. Really? Yeah, and how long do you want to spend in there? An hour maybe. And you've got a screaming kid in the trolley, or you've got people in front of you irritating you and all that sort of thing. And you're just gonna, you'll go. I was going to say on
the blue crisps.
I was going to say on instinct. It's not instinct, is it? Really, it's your subconscious.
Yeah.
It's the fact that blue, salt and vinegar.
Yeah.
What's this?
Then you get home and
what's this? I'll get that Italian coffee. I want for the Italian coffee. Yeah, silver and red, because it is. And sometimes what you want to do is disrupt. So you might change the colorways. You might because you want to disrupt them. Whoa, what's that in that? In that sea of blue, or that scene of red and silver. What's that? You want to disrupt. Or what you might want to say is, hey, I'm just as good as that. So the own label might be a similar color to the market leader, etc. Not too close. Yeah. Not too close. Which
it's a whole world of subtlety, isn't it?
It is very subtle.
Yeah.
but it's understandably subtle.
Yeah.